Hey guys, it's Fred. Thanks for joining me. Got another story here. Kentucky State Police. Let you watch it and then we'll comment as we go along if we see anything of interest.
We begin tonight with an LEX 18 investigates. Money meant to help Kentucky State Police fight drug addiction used on a trip to the U.S.-Mexico border. Was it for important training, as the agency says? A KSP sergeant who asked that question has now filed a lawsuit saying she was retaliated against. LEX 18's Lee Searcy is here with details.
Well, Nancy, Sergeant Vicki Day is a 24-year veteran of Kentucky State Police. Since April, we've been looking into the questions raised in her lawsuit, and we've had our own questions about this trip paid for with public money, and getting the answers hasn't been easy. More in tonight's LEX 18 Investigates. A trip to the border, the center of Sergeant Vicki Day's lawsuit. Last June, 8 members of Kentucky State Police, 4 sworn and 4 civilian, flew to Texas to visit EPIC, the El Paso Intelligence Center. The 4-day trip, paid with grant money, cost more than $18,000, with the airfare alone over $11,000. According to this memo seeking approval of the trip, the group would attend training sessions on facial recognition and license plate readers. But Sergeant Day had questions about the legitimacy of the trip, questions she says landed her in hot water. Her suit alleging KSP retaliated against her by opening an internal investigation on her. Her attorney.
There are efforts within the command of KSP to get rid of her, make her resign, to make her life so miserable that she doesn't want.
Right there, if you're in, we've been discussing another court case in Danville, Kentucky, the one where Danville Police Department arrested the fellow with dementia, the elderly man, and beat on him and whipped up on him good. That attorney in that case is Ephraim Hilton, and I've bragged on Ephraim many a times. One thing, as a police officer of 40 years, you meet a lot of attorneys, some good, some not so good. Ephraim Hilton's one of the best in my book. Here's the other one. Here's another one. Thomas Clay is out of Louisville, and I think he's got 2 brothers that also are attorneys or were attorneys. But Mr. Clay is an exceptional, and he represents a lot of police officers, and in fact, he also goes against police officers. If you'll watch the case of the number 2 video I talk about all the time, contempt of cop, there's a deposition out there online where Mr. Clay is actually representing Freddie Gregory against now State Police Commissioner Philip Burnett Jr. And you can hear what goes on in that deposition there. But here's you another good attorney. I just wanted to say that if you're in the Louisville area or in Kentucky and you ever need an attorney, that's another good one right there.
I don't want to put up with it anymore.
Since April, we've been trying to learn more about this $18,000 trip and the training involved. We've requested the records, everything from financial documents to event itineraries and program materials. Now, we did receive some of the expense reports right here, but we have not received anything about the training or how many hours were spent training.
There should be training materials. There should be lesson plans. There should be attendance rosters. There should be paperwork to back up what happened on this trip.
Their theory on why?
I think the trip was a boondoggle. I don't think there was any training involved in it. I think it was approved improperly, and I think there were misrepresentations made about what the purpose of the trip was.
The Cabinet for Justice and Public Safety says there was legitimate training on the trip, that it focused on how best to use license plate readers for drug enforcement. They mentioned that that type of federal training is often not for public review, as it could give information to those wishing to, quote, cause harm to the public or officers. They tell me that there was training on this trip.
Well, what I've seen is pictures that were taken at the border, where the individuals who were on this trip were given a tour of the border.
Our request for an interview with the KSP commissioner went unanswered. So
Right there is Philip Burnett Jr. That is the commissioner of the Kentucky State Police. This is 2025, January 2025, and that is our commissioner of the Kentucky State Police. He is also the main actor in the video number 2, Contempt of Cop, when he arrested a man for no more than pointing his finger at him and saying he was tired of being harassed. He starts looking for things to arrest him for. Finally arrest him for menacing or disorderly, and the county attorney looks at the charge, looks at the video, and dismisses it, and he gets sued. So that is our commissioner of the Kentucky State Police right now. He's the one that approved for this class to go on, and he's the one that's, this lady, he's at the top of the list for being sued.
Recently, we went to the governor about this trip paid with public money. He didn't personally sign off on the expenditure, but his office did. Why was it necessary for 8 members of KSP to go to El Paso last summer? This was not a cheap trip.
I haven't seen the details of the trip. I can't confirm the number of people who went, but this is
There were 8 people who went on this trip.
Again, I haven't seen those details, but this is a conference put on by the DEA about how we better protect our people, about how we stop fentanyl coming in, how we use the best technology, and it's opened up additional technology for us to use.
We did speak with a DEA spokesperson who said Epic doesn't hold conferences per se, but it does offer training for law enforcement. But we still don't know how much time was spent on the training sessions mentioned in this KSP memo. In a statement, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Rogers, who was on the trip, explained how it's important to seek educational opportunities and establish relationships with national partners to reduce drug trafficking and other crimes. He also mentioned how their license plate readers helped catch a serial rapist, but he didn't answer the $18,000 question. How much time did the group spend on training?
All right, Lee's here with us now. And Lee, 8 people took this trip, a 4-day trip that cost more than $18,000. What documentations do you have right now about the training?
Well, as you know, Nancy, we've been busy in the newsroom. We have been busy asking the same questions over and over, trying to get basic information that would explain how much time was spent on the training on that trip. Now, we've emailed back and forth for weeks with KSP, the DEA, and the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet. So far, the only documentation of training that we have is this sheet of paper right here.
And you see a lot of black marks on there, redacting information. What does it tell you?
It basically tells us about, it's a list of the names, all of the 8 people who went on that trip. They got security clearance to visit the Intelligence Center that June 7th, that day last summer, and that's what it is. This is a security clearance piece of paper. Wow. But we were also given an email, which the DA spokeswoman said that, to her knowledge, KSP took part in the training at the center last summer, with the subject matter of the training, she said, couldn't be released. And we understand that. We understand that. But again, no one is answering any questions at all as far as how much time was spent.
They don't have to. That's Commissioner Barnett, Governor Beshear, and Kentucky State Police. Why? They don't have to answer to nothing.
$1,000. Like, how much time was spent? 4 days. We'd like to know.
All right. Money.
Lee, thank you.
Why would they care? Thank you.